Hi, the idea behind these flipped learning videos is that we can cover more content throughout the year. If you can cover the basic stuff at home, we can then focus on the trickier stuff in class. Let's have a look at circles. We need to know what different parts of a circle are called. Part A is called a segment, and it does look like an orange segment. Part B is a chord. This is a line going from one side to the other of a circle, but not going through the middle. If it goes through the middle, or the center I should say, then that's called a diameter. Part D, just as it looks, is called an arc. Part E is like a pizza slice, and we call that a sector. And part F, from the center to the edge of a circle, is called a radius. This is exactly half a diameter. Part G is the perimeter of a circle, but this has a special name. It's called a circumference. H is the center, and I is a tangent. A tangent just touches the circle. We're now going to look at some formulae associated with circles. The first one is the circumference of a circle. This, as we said earlier, is the outside or the perimeter of a circle. To work this out, we need the formula pi times diameter. The diameter, as we said earlier, is the length from one side to the other passing through the center. In this case, it's 8. So if we want to work out the circumference, we're going to do pi times 8. If you type this into your calculator, you get 25.1327 and a few more decimal places. The question will usually tell you what they want it rounded to. If it said it wants it to one decimal place, then in this case it would be 25.1. Don't forget your units. The units for this are just centimeters because it's a length. You have to be careful with example 2. This is something where they'll try and trick you. You still have the circle, but this time the length they've given you is the radius, which is 9. Now the formula is still pi times diameter. So what we need to do first is double the 9 and get our diameter as 18 meters. So the circumference of this circle is pi times 18. Again, if you type this into your calculator, you'll get the answer 56.54867, and a few more decimal places. Again, it will ask you to round this in the question, and if it's set to one decimal place, this would be 56.5 meters. Example 3, as it says, is a tricky example. This isn't a full circle, so we need to break this down into different parts. If I just draw the question out again. We want to get the perimeter of this shape. It's not a full circle, but what we're going to do is pretend that it is. If it was a full circle, the diameter wouldn't be 10 centimeters, it would be all the way across, which is 20 centimeters. In which case, to work out the circumference, you'd do pi times diameter, type that into your calculator, and you get 62.83. centimeters. This would be the full circumference of the circle. Let me just draw this. Okay, all of that would be 62.83. Now we don't want all of it. We need to think about how much of the circle we want. Now a full circle is 360 degrees, but as it says in the question, we only want 260 of it. So we work this out as a proportion. We want 260 degrees out of the 360 that's available. So what we're going to do is say the full circumference, which is 62.83, we want 260 out of 360 of this. And when you work that out, you get 45.37856.055. That's the curved outside bit. That bit there. Don't forget, the perimeter of this shape also has two more lines. It has the 10 centimeters there and another 10 centimeters there. So that's what we're going to add on. So in total, we're going to add on 20 centimeters. And when you add on the 20 centimeters, you're going to get 65.38 centimeters to 2 decimal places. The next thing we're going to look at is the area of a circle. This has a different formula, which is pi r squared. R being the radius. So in example 1, the radius going from the center to the edge is 7 centimeters. So in this case, the area is pi times 7 squared. Squared meaning times itself. So in other words, it means pi times 7 times 7. If you type this into your calculator, it gives you the answer of 153.93804. If you round this to 1 decimal place, you will get 153.9. The units for this are centimeters squared, because you've done centimeter times centimeter. Example 2 is another case that could try and trick you. We want the area of this circle. To get the area, we're still going to do pi r squared. But 10 is the diameter, so the radius is 5, half of this. So for this example, the area is pi times 5 squared. Typing this into your calculator, you get the answer of 78.5398 and a few more decimal places. Again, if we round this to 1 decimal place, we get the answer of 78.5, and again, the units are meters squared. Example 3 is one of those tricky examples. We need to think about what part of the shape we want. If I just draw out the question again, we have this. We're going to start with the full area. If I gave you the circle as a full circle with a radius of 6.5, we would say the full area is pi r squared, where the radius is 6.5. If you type this into your calculator, you get the answer as 132.732. That's the full area of the circle, but we don't want the full area. The full circle is 360 degrees. We only want 166 of this. So like we did before, we're going to say the proportion that we want is 166 out of the full 360. So what we're going to do is get our full area and only want 166 out of 360 degrees of it. I'll give you the answer of 61.204,33354. To one decimal place, this is 61.2 centimeters squared. Let's have a look at the area and perimeter of other shapes. Starting with the rectangle. To get the area, you do base times height. The base in this case is 8 and the height is 6. So all we're going to do is 8 times 6. We get the answer of 48. Don't forget the units are centimeters squared. The perimeter is the length all the way around the shape. Be careful. It says this length here is 6 and this is 8, but don't forget this is also 6 and this is 8. So if you add all those together, you're going to get 6 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8, and you end up with 28. The units for this are just centimeters because it's a length. To work out the area of a triangle, we do base times height and then divide it by 2. The height has to be the vertical height, not a slanty height. So if you look at this example, the base is 3 and the vertical height is not 6 because that's slanting, the vertical height is 5. So to work out the area, we're going to do 3 times 5 and then divide it by 2, giving 7.5 centimeters squared. The perimeter is the length around the shape. So this time we will use this slanty length, the 6, the 3 and the 7. If we add them together, we get 16, and don't forget the units are just centimeters. A parallelogram is actually a lazy rectangle, and that's why it has the same formula for the area. The formula is base times the vertical height. So if you look at this example, the base is 8 and the vertical height is 4. 8 times 4 gives us 32. Don't forget your units, it's 32 centimeters squared. The perimeter is the length around the shape. This time the 4 doesn't feature because around the shape is going to be the 8, the 5, the 8 and another 5. If you add them together, I'll give you the perimeter, which is 26, just centimeters. To work out the area of a trapezium, we need to use this formula here. Now it looks a lot trickier than it is. What it's saying is this: the two sides that are parallel to each other, so in our example the 4 and the 8, they're parallel because they'll never meet. We need to add them together first, then times it by the height. The height is the distance between them, which if you look in this example is 6, and then whatever your answer is, divide it by 2. So putting all that into practice, we're going to get 4 plus 8. We're going to work that out first. We're then going to times it by the height, which is 6. And then once you've got that answer, we're going to divide it all by 2. If you work that out, 4 plus 8 is 12. Times it by 6 is 72. And then divide it by 2, you get 36. This time it's meters squared. The perimeter is just all the sides added together. So we're going to add the 4, the 6.5, the 8, and the 7.5. When you add them together, you're going to get 4 plus 6.5 is 10.5, plus another 7.5 is 18, plus 8 is 26. Just meters. We've already looked at a circle. The area is pi r squared, where r is the radius, in this case 7. So we're going to do pi times 7 squared. Type that on your calculator. And we get 153.9 meters squared. And the circumference is pi times diameter. Don't forget the diameter for this question is all the way across, which is 14. Type this into your calculator, pi times 14. And we get 43.98. If we're going to round this to one decimal place, in this case, the 8 would make that round up, which would have a knock-on effect to this. You'd end up with 44. And because it's to one decimal place, you still have to put the 0 to show this. Don't forget your units, which are meters.